He had done everything right. Graduated top of his class. Earned his real estate license in record time. Spent 5 years building his brand, his name, his reputation. All to prove one thing, that he belonged in rooms people never expected him to enter. And today was supposed to be the reward. $1 million listing in North Atlanta. His first luxury showing. A career-making moment. Darius Ellis was ready. He pulled into the driveway of the gated home at 10:02 a.m., right on time, wearing a tailored navy blue suit, name badge gleaming, and a branded leather portfolio tucked under his arm. This wasn't just business. It was legacy. He unlocked the door, stepped inside, and began staging the open house. Candles lit, windows adjusted for light. Everything had to be perfect. The buyers, an affluent couple relocating from California, were due in 30 minutes. And for once, Darius let himself breathe. But outside, across the street, someone else was watching. A woman, peering through her blinds. Phone already in hand. Her mind already made up. Clapperboard. Welcome to Tracelight Stories. If you believe stories like this must be told, backhand index pointing right, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Studio microphone. Voiceover continues. At first, Darius didn't notice her. He was reviewing staging notes, adjusting a vase, checking the fireplace light, but movement caught his eye. She was gone by the time he turned. He shrugged it off. Until 12 minutes later. A knock. Not the couple. Not a delivery. But the police. For officers. One with his hand resting on his holster. Officer firm. We got a report of a possible break-in. Put your hands where we can see them. Darius blinked. He raised his hand slowly. Darius. Officers, I'm the listing agent. This is my showing. I have documents. But they weren't listening. In seconds, he was spun around. Handcuffed. Dragged onto the porch. His portfolio fell to the ground. Cards, contracts, tablets scattering across the front step. Neighbors emerged from their homes like it was a show. Some recorded. One whispered. Figures. Never seen him around here before. It didn't matter what Darius said. Didn't matter how calm his tone or professional his look. To them, he wasn't a realtor. He was a threat. 20 minutes passed before one officer finally made a call to the agency, and the truth unraveled. But there were no apologies. No explanations. Only handcuffs removed. And a cold. You're free to go. Free. Just as the clients pulled up in their SUV, they slowed at the sight. Police cars. Darius on the porch, shaken, breathless. They never stepped out. Later that night, the call came. Client uncomfortable. We're choosing to go in a different direction. It's not the right energy for us. And just like that, the deal vanished. The commission, the exposure, the trust, gone. Darius sat in silence that night. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just stared at his hands. The same hands that had opened doors for others, now branded by suspicion. In the weeks that followed, it got worse. Fewer calls. Canceled appointments. Clients ghosted. Word spread fast in his industry. Not the truth, but the image. The one captured on phones, him in cuffs, on a porch, looking guilty. The system didn't care about innocence. It cared about perception. One afternoon, Darius drove back to that same neighborhood. Not for work, for clarity. That's when he saw her again. The woman from the window, standing on her lawn, watering flowers, smiling. She didn't flinch when he pulled up. Darius, from his car. You called the cops on me. She paused, then smirked. Her words burned. Woman, I'd do it again. Y'all don't belong here anyway. Y'all. 2 syllables that carried centuries. Darius clenched the steering wheel. He could have argued, could have shouted, but instead he backed away. Because some fights don't happen on lawns. They happen in courtrooms. 3 days later, a strange email arrived. Subject: You're not alone. A law firm out of state. They'd seen the incident, and they'd been investigating. Their words. Lawyer email. This wasn't random. This HOA has a history of false 911 calls, targeting professionals of color. You're not the first. We need to talk. That call changed everything. There were 7 others. A black photographer detained while on a wedding shoot. A delivery driver held at gunpoint by a homeowner. An interior designer accused of trespassing while walking to her car. Each time, the HOA board was involved. The same names, the same president. And when Darius saw her name, he nearly dropped the phone. The woman who'd hired him for the showing. The same client who'd canceled. She had made the call. She knew who he was. She had his name, his credentials. And still, she called him a suspicious black man. It wasn't fear. It was control. Weaponized. Darius stood at a crossroads. Stay silent, protect what was left of his career, or rise and expose everything? He chose truth. He joined the lawsuit, testified, gave interviews, risked backlash to break the cycle. But just as the case gained national attention, a letter arrived. No return address. No name. Inside, a flyer for the HOA, with a single line scribbled in ink. Walk away, or next time, it won't be the police. He froze, looked out the window, and across the street. A car he didn't recognize. Sitting, engine running, someone watching. His phone buzzed. A message from his younger brother. Proud of your man. Keep pushing. Darius stood taller, because the fight wasn't just about him anymore. It was about every black professional forced to wear armor just to do their job. And as the sun set that evening, he whispered, "You came to scare me? You should have come stronger." Some people get to leave a bad day behind. Darius Ellis couldn't, because the day he was accused, handcuffed on $1 million driveway, branded suspicious for doing his job, it never really ended. The cuffs came off, but the mark, that stayed. His phone stopped ringing. Clients backed away. Even his agency grew quiet. And as the days turned to weeks, he wasn't just rebuilding his career. He was trying to reclaim his dignity. But just when the silence became unbearable, came the email. Subject, you're not alone. The message was brief, direct. We've been investigating your neighborhood's HOA. You're not the first to be profiled, harassed, or silenced. We need to talk. LH and Associates. Darius hesitated. He wasn't sure if this was help or bait, but something in him said, "You've already lost everything. What more can they take?" So he replied. The next day, he met with Latasha Hunt, civil rights attorney. She didn't sugarcoat it. "Latasha, serious. We've got 7 formal complaints from black professionals who experienced racial targeting inside that same HOA. Real estate agents, landscapers, DoorDash drivers, all reported, all dismissed." But then, she dropped the real bomb. Latasha firm, and the caller who falsely accused you, wasn't just a neighbor. It was the HOA president herself. Darius blinked. His jaw clenched. "The client who dropped me." Latasha nodded. "She's the same woman who reported a suspicious black man to 911. She knew who you were. She used your skin to protect her space." Darius sat in silence, betrayed, played, humiliated. He had smiled in this woman's face, staged her home, promised her results, and the moment he stepped onto her porch, she treated him like a threat. Latasha slid a document across the table. "Latasha, we're preparing a class action. If you're in, you'll be the face of this case." It wasn't just about legal damages. It was about naming names, exposing silence, and cracking open a system that protected itself with polite smiles and neighborhood safety. Darius hesitated. The truth was, he was scared. Not of the law, not of being wrong, but of losing more. Clients, respect, his hard-earned place in a city that already gave him nothing for free. But when he looked at the list of other names, saw the quiet victims, he remembered the woman's words, "You people don't belong here." And suddenly, he wasn't afraid anymore. The lawsuit went public. News picked it up. Photos of Darius in cuffs flashed across social media again. But this time, the headline read, "Black Realtor Sues HOA After False Arrest Sparks Civil Rights Battle." The backlash came swift. Some called him ungrateful. Others accused him of race baiting. His business inbox filled with hate mail and anonymous messages. Hope it was worth it. We know where your office is. You people ruin everything. But then the tide shifted. A black couple in Florida shared their story. A teenage delivery driver in Texas went viral for a similar false report. Realtors of color across the country started posting with the hashtag I am Darius. And Darius, he kept pushing. Depositions, press interviews, public panels. He refused to be silent. Even when someone slashed his car tires. Even when he found a note on his windshield that read, "We told you to walk away." But justice doesn't beg for permission. And then, they found the audio. A recording from a police call that day. Latasha called him that night. Latasha quietly. Darius, she didn't just say, "suspicious man." She said, "He's likely breaking in. He's not the type who belongs here. Probably casing the place." Darius dropped the phone. Because there it was. Not subtle. Not implied. Blatant. The woman who hired him. Who welcomed him with fake smiles and thank yous. Tried to frame him as a criminal. Because to her, no amount of professionalism could outweigh his presence. The HOA went into defense mode. Their lawyers offered Darius a quiet settlement. Confidentiality. A paycheck. No public admission of guilt. Latasha slid the offer across the table. Darius read it once, then shook his head. Darius, softly. "I didn't come this far for hush money." But just as the lawsuit gained traction, another twist hit. An anonymous employee inside the HOA leaked internal emails, and what they revealed was bigger than one case. Coordinated strategies to track unfamiliar cars. Encouragement to flag suspicious contractors. Keep the wrong elements out memos. It was organized, systemic, and worse. The local realty board had known about it for months. They just buried it. Darius felt sick. This wasn't just about his reputation anymore. It was about an entire structure, built to protect one kind of resident by erasing another. And then, just as hearings were about to begin, he vanished. Not literally, but Darius missed a panel, didn't return calls, didn't show up for a scheduled interview. Latasha panicked. His assistant said he hadn't been seen for 2 days. His car, still parked at his apartment. His phone, powered off. And the last message he sent, just a voice memo. "If anything happens to me, tell my brother to finish what I started. The truth is in the files." Darius stood by his office window, the threat letter still in his hands. No return address. No name. Just a folded HOA newsletter and a sentence scribbled in ink. "This isn't your fight. Walk away, or you lose more than clients." The warning echoed in his mind like a storm waiting to break. But deep down, he wasn't afraid. He was done being quiet, done being polite, done being the safe black man who always smiled and played it down. That version of Darius died the day he was handcuffed on that driveway. And what rose in his place was a man on a mission. He picked up the phone and called the law firm that contacted him weeks ago. "Darius, I'm in. Let's expose them all." What happened next unfolded like a courtroom drama, except this wasn't fiction. This was years of buried racism. Legal teams dug deep. They subpoenaed HOA records, pulled police logs, and filed formal civil rights claims. And what they found was damning. 27 reports over a 6-year span. Every single one involved a black or brown professional being mistaken for a trespasser. Realtors, plumbers, delivery drivers, electricians. Each story followed the same formula. Show up for work. A neighbor calls it in. Police arrive. Public humiliation. No consequences. Until Darius. The lawsuit gained traction. News outlets caught wind. And soon, a local journalist from Channel 8 Investigates requested an interview. She asked him, "Reporter, why come forward now? Why not walk away like the letter asked?" Darius looked straight into the camera. "Darius, because silence never saved anyone, and I'm not the one who should be hiding." The interview aired that evening, and Atlanta watched. Viewers flooded the HOA's public pages With outrage, dozens of residents, some previously silent, came forward with stories of their own. Some had receipts, some had videos. But the moment that changed everything was a leaked recording. A homeowner captured the HOA president speaking during a private meeting. HOA president on tape. "Listen, we don't need people like him showing homes around here. They bring the wrong crowd. I don't care how professional he dresses. He doesn't belong." That wrong crowd was code everyone recognized, and it broke the dam. Within weeks, the HOA board was suspended by court order. The president resigned and lawyered up. The neighborhood was placed under federal review for civil rights violations. But for Darius, the most powerful moment came not in a courtroom, but at the very house where it all began. Months later, after a hard-fought battle and national coverage, Darius was contacted by a couple who'd seen his interview. They wanted him to help them find their new home, and they had one request. "Client, we'd love if you could take us to see that same house, the one they tried to take from you." Darius laughed. "Let's do it." So once again, he pulled into that circular driveway, this time in a black luxury sedan with his logo printed bold on the door. But this time no police came. No eyes watched from behind curtains. No whispers in the wind. Just Darius, standing tall, keys in hand, portfolio under his arm, unapologetic, unshaken, undefeated. And here's the part you didn't see coming. That same house went back on the market after the scandal broke. And the buyers Darius brought that day, they bought it at full price, with Darius as their exclusive agent, commission paid, justice served, and a message carved into history. You cannot erase someone just because you fear their presence. He took a photo on the front porch that afternoon, same spot he'd been cuffed. Only this time, he wore a navy suit, gold name badge, and the widest smile Atlanta had ever seen. He posted it online with the simple caption, "You tried to stop me, but I made it a milestone." The post went viral. 10 million views, thousands of messages, and in the midst of all the likes, shares, and reposts, he got one message that stopped him cold. It was from a young intern he'd mentored a year ago. She wrote, "I almost quit real estate after what happened to you, but then I saw you fight, and now I'm starting my own firm. You didn't just sell a house. You opened a door." Because that's what stories like this are about. Not just the pain, but the power. Not just the racism, but the resistance. And how one man's voice, one refusal to stay silent, can shake a system built to keep him quiet. The end. If Darius' story moved you, then speak up, stand tall, and share this video. Because every time you hit that like button and subscribe button, you're helping break the silence for someone who needed to hear this today. This is Tracelight Stories, and we will always shine light where others stay in the dark.